Hi guys, it's Faye and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm talking about something that probably will annoy some people, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Basically, it's a whole discussion about how I've seen a lot of people on AuthorTube say that you have to be an avid reader to be a good writer. And basically saying that if you don't read lots, your writing's probably crap. And I disagree, obviously. So when I decided that I was actually going to pursue writing and was going to look into publishing and all that jazz, I went and found AuthorTube and I watched loads of writing advice videos, you know, trying to better my skills. But a lot of what I heard was more discouraging than encouraging, which kind of just put a damper on it, you know. Now, I'm not an avid reader. Surprise! No, I'm not an avid reader. I actually find it really difficult to get into a book. I find some of the books, I can't get into the pacing of it or just the story of it. I'm not really bothered about. And I'm just a really slow reader as well, so it's not really fun to have to reread stuff like 12 times for it to process. I'm more of a binge watch movies and series kind of person. But saying that, I do read, just to clarify, and I don't think I'm a crap writer. And I've got other people who don't think I'm a crap writer. So therefore, on that merit, I'm gonna say I'm not a crap writer. Hopefully. But basically, I don't feel like all writers are being represented equally, because there are gonna be writers who don't read all the time, who can't read 100 books in a year like I've seen some people do. And do you know what? That's preference. You don't have to be an avid reader to be a good writer. I'm going to tell you why I think that. Again, this is just my opinion. Please don't kill me. Please. I'm going to give you some of the options that I use to help me develop characters, stories, work out pacing, you know, the basics of writing that you'd normally get from reading a book, but without reading a book. And I'm pretty sure some people are going to be like, oh my god, you can't replace reading with that. Well, you can. So the first one is pretty much the parallel to reading, which is audiobooks. Obviously. Now, I know a lot of people do actually class audiobooks as reading, which is great, but it's not actually reading with your eyes. You're listening to it, so it's not reading, but it is someone else reading.
6.5 hours later.
So you're kind of reading by association, I guess. I don't know, but audiobooks, you get all the details from the book, the descriptions, the pacing, the characters. You even get some fun voices, which is great. So it's basically, it's reading without using your eyes. That's the worst description ever, but I can't think of any other way to describe it. So audiobooks, if reading actual English words or other words, I don't know where you're from, if just reading words hurts your brain like it does with mine, audiobooks is a good start. I don't know what I keep doing for myself. So the second one, obviously, movies and TV shows. Now, a lot of people leave movies and TV shows and they turn around and they're like, oh, the book was so much better. Cool. That's great. But for people who haven't read the book, the story, you still get the storyline, you still get the characters-ish, you also get part of the storyline. But the point is, you're still getting details from it. And I don't know if anyone thinks like I do, but when I have ruined TV and movies for myself forever. When I watch them, I think, oh, how could I describe this scene? How would I talk about that in words? Basically, how would I describe it? How would I describe the movements, the atmosphere, the scene? You know, so you're getting that visual of where you are and what they're doing, and you can process that however you want into how you would put it into words. I think a good way to do this is analysing. I know it might be boring for some people, but if you go in and you can even watch them on YouTube. There's plenty of channels that analyse movies and TV shows and basically talks about stuff that you need to know that you could get from books if you wanted to be an avid reader, but we're talking about not being an avid reader. So, you know, you can find analysis on the films, on the TV shows, which basically gives you details about plot, about scenes, about chapter breaks if it was a book kind of thing. It's pretty good. And with TV shows especially, ones that run more than one season preferably, you get character development, you get introductions to new characters. So you may have your merry men in the first season and you can see how they develop throughout the season and into the next season, but then in the second season they'll probably introduce someone new. Let's take Riverdale for example, when they're always bringing in new people and each season is basically a new big bad, I guess if we want to call it that. So it's looking at how they do that. Obviously that's easier to do in a TV show than it is writing, but it's all experience and it's all knowledge to fill your well. So this next one, people are probably gonna think I'm insane. I am. Basically, my background is actually in performing arts and music and dance. So I am not a trained writer, which I don't think most people are, but I'm just clarifying. So here it is, music. Yeah, music. So from learning, obviously I am actually trained in music, in songwriting, composition, blah 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 blah. So you follow a story with songwriting, with music, with, I mean, you can listen to any song and it's a story. So there are different ways to compose, which I actually prefer to use when plotting and outlining, and I'm going to do a video about how I outline that will probably make trained writers cry, so look out for that one because I think it will be fun. But I do use a more musical composition look into outlining rather than using strict structures like beats and the 3-act thing. Yeah, like I said, not a trained writer. I'm trying to learn, I swear. I'm trying to learn through other people teaching me more about beats and structure and plotting, but I just find the way that I do it works for me. And this is what this whole video is about, is you do what suits you best, you know? So lastly, now this is also one that I don't think people realise so much, but video games and more specifically RPGs. So if you don't know what an RPG is, RPG stands for role-playing game. Now, that basically just sums it up. These video games, obviously, they have stories. Now, I'm not talking about GTA because that doesn't really have a story. And people just go and do what they want, more or less. It does have story, but that's not the kind of game I'm talking about. I'm talking about games where you create a character, or you're put into the shoes of this certain character and you make decisions for them that will then affect the outcome of the book. I meant the game. Got ahead of myself. But what it helps you do is it helps you give personality to that character, which I feel could help a lot for if you're writing in first person or third person limited. Now, what it does is it puts you in their mindset. You know, what kind of character traits do they have? Are they the really nice guy, so they literally will do nothing that will put anyone at stake, even if it means they get the backlash of it? A good example for that one is a game called Heavy Rain. Just a gist of what it is. Basically, you play as this guy. I can't remember his name, I haven't played it for a little while. Basically, his son gets taken and he's got to perform these tasks almost to get the clues onto where to find him, so he can try and save his son. Another game which is really good for fantasy and I'm obsessed with is called Dragon Age. I love that game so much. So there are 3 Dragon Age games out at the minute. There's Origins, Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition. In that order, if you're going to play all of them, just Origins first, then 2 and then Inquisition. Anyway, basically what you do is you create your character. You choose their gender, you choose their race, you choose their class, and then you play through the game. The game has a set out overarch plot, which is basically, actually I'm not going to spoil it. Basically it has an overarching plot, but within the game you can meet certain characters, you can do certain quests, you can take on extra like side quests. You know, there are main quests that you have to do to progress in the game, but then there are certain outcomes to that main quest that affect the end goal. Then there are side quests that you can do that kind of affect the main bit, but also don't really affect anything apart from getting you like power-ups, and I'm going into way too much detail. But basically it's such an intricate storytelling. It's so well done. The world, it's amazing for world building, amazing. As an avid world builder, if that's someone that you struggle at, just have a look at it, okay? I'm not saying you have to play it, just have a look, okay? You know, it has all these intricate characters. I would say it's really good for dialogue as well, because you've got the set dialogue and then you have options on how your character would reply. So you really need to think about, is your character basically you? So then how would you reply? Is your character the opposite to you? How would you not reply, basically? So it's getting into your character's head and replying and doing what they would do. Another really good one for storytelling and world building actually is L.A. Noire. Now it's a crime thriller mystery game. I don't really know how to summarise it. I'm so bad at summarising, that's not the point. But basically you play as a cop in the 20s, I want to say. So it's old school. There's this, again, there's an overarching plot which you get bits and pieces of as you go through. Amazing. And then the conclusion, obviously you come to the end of it all. But you have smaller stories in between. So you've got obviously different crimes that you have to go and solve and promotions and different departments that you work in, and yeah, basically it's really good for storytelling and, you know, working out plot arcs. You know, I find for me personally it's quite hard for me to keep on track with my overall plot when I'm also trying to do all these little subplots to, you know, give it some zhuzh, which I can't think of an actual word for. But yeah, to end this off, I'm just gonna say, obviously, if you are an avid reader, great. If you're not, great. It doesn't define how you write. And always, you know, I don't think we should judge other people's writing based on what they do in their spare time. You know, unless you've read it, you can't have an opinion. That's my opinion on opinions. Opinionception. But basically, just to clarify, I do think you should read, even if it's just for research. If you've seen my world building video, I really think people should do more research. But that's another topic. So I'm going to end it here. If you are also not an avid reader, hit the like button, let me know. If you use kind of the same stuff that I do or have other options, let me know in the comments down below. I will be posting every Monday, so feel free to subscribe. And yeah, until next time guys, bye! So when I